Hey everybody, welcome back to the Thrive Tribe Saturday Shout Out. I am so excited today because today in the Saturday Shout Out, I have my very good friend Kim Keller, I have not seen, we see each other on Facebook, but not seen like in a conversation for a very, very long time. So I'm not going to lie, we just spent a little time chatting, catching up before I turned the cameras on. So welcome, Kim. Welcome to the Thrive Tribe. Tell us a little bit about you and how we met.
Well, yay. Well, I want to say that one of the things I wish I had this with me, but right in my garage, I even know where it is a long picture of my going away party that you helped put on, and you're smack in the middle of it, of when I left Southern California to move to Oregon. And that was 14 years ago. So,
oh my gosh.
and we've certainly not seen each other in person in 14 years. And so we may have had a little bit of this and some Facebook. But anyway, because 14 years ago, you and I were working in education, and I was the drug prevention coordinator for a program that worked with young people all over the Western states. And you and I got to work in some programs together in peer leadership, peer counseling, youth to youth, and we got to do really great work with young people. And so I have such fond memories of us in our summer times and of sleepover events and wildness that we created together. So.
And I just remember, how you don't know how much you influence someone, but I can tell you that I do a lot of circles with people, with adults, with kids, and I teach adults how to do circles. And so many of the little things we do in there, I did with you a zillion years ago. And I think it's fun.
Yeah. And the deer, I'm excited too, because I'm thinking how much fun it's going to be to send this recording to all of our mutual friends that don't know us in this life, but know us in that life.
I know, that'll be good. Yeah. All right. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing now. Now, this is super interesting to me. This is not the usual. We've had a lot of people on the show who have been teachers, who have educational businesses, who've written books. Yours is totally different and
totally different.
So I'm not even going to give it an intro. Tell us about it.
Totally different. So when I left Southern California and came to Oregon, one of the first things that happened as a newly divorced, single, don't know what the heck I'm going to do with the second half of my life woman, I had a best friend drag me to a Tantra weekend. And I didn't even know what Tantra was at the time. I knew it had something to do with sex, but I didn't really know much more than that. And so I went very pie-eyed, and I'd been married for 23 years and in a traditional Southern California, raised two kids life, and now all of a sudden I'm single and don't know what to do with myself, and end up in the front row of a Tantra training that, I am not kidding, changes my whole life. And I go into a 3-day weekend, one woman, and I come out of that 3-day weekend going, oh my God, there's so much about myself and my world and my relationship that I did not understand, do not understand, and that this runs way deeper than I had any real idea. And this comes from a woman like that worked in the world of human development and personal growth for 25 years. And so to trip into something that was like a whole other piece of myself was a really big deal. So I started that training 13 years ago, just on my own accord, just as my own personal growth path, and didn't think I would ever end up in this place where I'm now teaching about sacred sexuality, intimacy, deep connection. I work with men, women, and couples who perhaps have lost or have never had or have experienced sexual trauma, which is preventing their ability to reach pleasure, contentment, desire, and really deep connection with another human being. And that the heart of that is, it's not just about finding our pleasure and that more, for lack of a better word, hedonistic part of, ooh, I've got to have more pleasure, but that actually being in touch with and having our pleasure deeply accessed, whether we're in relationship or not, inspires, activates, and creates this whole vitality and aliveness in our life that then shows up in all these other places. And so, especially as our hormones start to slow down, which happens pretty quickly, you don't have to get all the way into menopause or premenopause to have hormones start to slow down, libido start to change. After having babies, libido does all kinds of things, and then you lose that vim and vigor. And so it becomes a really important practice to keep alive. So I work with helping people either reclaim it, refine it, or activate it, and then apply it to the rest of their life in their creative endeavors.
And this is just so amazing. And you do it not just in person, but through Zoom as well, right?
I do a variety of things. So my work is both in person and on Zoom and on the phone. And I have an online course that really is built for women. Although I've had some men take it in terms with the intention of understanding their woman's pleasure better. It's a 21-day course intended for women to really get in touch with their own pleasure. But I have had a couple of men take it because they didn't understand, they're confused by their woman's pleasure. And so, but it is designed for a woman to get in touch with hers. And it's called Building Your Erotic Altar. And it's really bringing you into a closer relationship with yourself. Because I also say, and this is so funny, it's a term I used in my old youth days, you can't give away what you don't have. And so that same term applies to our pleasure and our joy and our vitality. You can't be pleasured, joyed, or vital if you haven't found it within yourself first. So, and so my work, working both in Zoom. So some of it is obviously very much personal. You don't need to be here because I'm going to guide you through your own practice. And I have a couple of special tools I brought that I want to show you even that for women to get in touch with themselves that way. And then I have weekend retreats that I do here in Ashland, Oregon, and people come in long distances to come be with me, which has just been so exciting. When I started 5 years ago, so I got professional at this 5 years ago. So I started for myself 12 ago. And then 5 ago, I planted my flag in the sand and said, okay, I'm going to do this professionally. And thought it was going to kind of be women that are in the local vicinity, but that didn't last long. And now my women come in from Canada. Last time I had Canada and New York. I've had Seattle, LA, Colorado. I have women come from far, far places, men too, couples too. And so, so my favorite tool, can I tell you about my favorite tool?
Sure, tell us.
It's right here in my hand. So my favorite tool for women, this is an ancient Taoist practice called jade egg. And it's an actual jade stone that you use inside your vaginal canal. And kind of the mistake that's happened, I'm gonna put it over here so you can see it. There, you can see it against the light wall a little better. Sort of the mistake that's been made is we've thought it's just about Kegels and it's just about exercise and it's just about strengthening the vaginal canal, which is all very important. And yes, this will do that. But more than that, it creates an opportunity for us to connect with ourselves and our pleasure and our internal landscape, which is super mysterious because it's in the dark and we don't talk about it much. And when I work with couples don't talk about it much. You don't want to just say, well, this feels good and that doesn't feel good, and can you do this and could you not do that? And that's all really tender territory. And so finding a language that you can be able to talk about that, but you can't give away what you don't have. So first you have to know it yourself. So the stone helps you really know yourself and deepen. And then the other magical, mystical thing it does is it connects us to our divine feminine essence in a really deep way. And a lot of our internal landscape of the vagina really, so let me back up for just a second. The other thing that's been proven now and scientifically shown is that a woman who is disconnected from her vagina is also disconnected from her deepest brilliance. And the scientific studies around this have been all the way down to that vaginal destruction as a tool of war has been a real thing for a long, long time. That if the warriors would go into the village, rape and destroy women's vaginas, that'll quiet half the audience, half of the community. And so that's how they could just get them to be quiet. And then they'd only have to deal with the rest of the population. And so when we go into war-torn countries today, there are whole segments of women, you can just see that they've just been disconnected from themselves. And so when we're disconnected, whether it be in that kind of violent way, or if it be in the more subversive way of our culture, which is very diminishing from anything waist down. We don't talk about it. It's in the closet. We don't have a language for it. It's kind of messy, causes us more trouble than it does pleasure for a lot of people. And so when that kind of separation happens, we get separated from our power. And so with using the stone, we start to reconnect with that power. So when I know that I'm going to talk to you about it today and I want to really be in my feminine power, the first thing I do is I go put my egg in. And so I wear her like right now because it really helps me ground into what do I really want to get said today? What really feels the most important? And so I teach about the jade egg, and I do weekends, and we come in and we practice. I also do Zoom groups where we have 5 to 8 women, and we get together one night a week on Zoom and practice together. And I walk us through, I call it yoni yoga. It's kind of like having a yoga instructor. It's
And
just,
you are a yoga instructor as well.
I am a yoga instructor. And so we're going to do yoni yoga together. And yoni is the sacred word for the whole vaginal and reproductive system. It's Sanskrit and means sacred space. And so I call it yoni yoga because I'm going to guide us through a class where we're going to be exercising with our stone, and we're going to be doing different kinds of movements and meditations that help us drop into deeper connection with ourselves.
Wow. It's so interesting. So I bet that there's people watching right now that are a little uncomfortable, just like,
Sure.
Oh my gosh, did she just say vagina?
Yeah.
And when I think about what this group is about, which is about strengthening our well-being, it's about learning how to thrive and flourish. And there's many different ways. I mean, we talk about gratitude, we talk about forgiveness. And really what you're talking about today is something that you're exactly right. We don't talk about a lot.
Yeah.
And so I think that this will be of great benefit to people who are just interested in the topic. And I'll put in the comments below some links so that they could get in touch with you if they need further information or anything like that. I have a question for you. I know that in my research for my dissertation, which was on teacher well-being, I spent a lot of time really looking at building belonging and cultivating connection, that those are just huge pieces that we are missing in education, but we're missing all over. And so in the work that you do and just seeing, helping couples strengthen their intimacy and individuals strengthen their intimacy with themselves, why do you think that intimacy is such a problem in our society?
Oh, that's such a great question. So there's a lot of reasons, but the one that strikes me in this very moment is that it's so vulnerable. It is so vulnerable for me to let my walls down and be able to be seen by you and to let you know me and to let you into my soft spots. And so we spend a lot of time in this culture working really hard to build a certain persona, to build a way that the face that we're going to give to the world. And we can spend so much time in building that face that we don't even know who's under that face. And that's really a lot of what happens in my women's weekends is we come in, and I often say that the power of the weekend is the power of the time with sisters, that we come in and we really are it's such a safe container to be with these 10 other women that we can start to drop those masks and uncover ourselves. And that's how we get to know ourselves, because we've not only built a mask for us in the world, that building has built it between us and us. And so I don't even know myself. And when people first come in my door, more often than not, they can't exactly articulate why they're here, and they can't exactly articulate what's not working. I mean, they can give me some structural what's not working, but they can't really give me like, how is their intimacy not fulfilling what it is they want? And it's because they don't know themselves. And so it's so fascinating to me that so much of my sacred sexuality work comes back to my personal growth, know yourself, reveal yourself, understand yourself work, so that you can move into the deeper intimacy with your partner. If we're guarded and if we're shielded, we're guarded and we're shielded. How we do one thing is how we do everything. And so when you talk about benefits and all those Thrive practices that you and I have been so committed to for so long, gratitude, that was a game changer for me years ago when I started a gratitude. I had gratitude sisters, and we emailed each other our gratitudes every single day. And it really changed the way that we looked at the world. And so to think that such a core part of ourselves, our sexuality, like none of us would be here without sex. That's how core it is. Yeah. We wouldn't be here. And that core part of ourselves be so misunderstood and mistreated, and lost in the midst of this culture of consumerism and entertainment, and be lost in what's really there is this human connection of person to person.
Interesting. Kim, tell us what you have coming up in the next little bit, and I'll put some links in, and you can add to those too.
Okay, great. Well, the first most thing I'm really working on right now is once a year we do an annual Oregon Tantra Festival that happens just outside of Portland at a beautiful, it's called the Elysium Lodge, and we're in this beautiful outdoor venue. Well, it's got the main lodge, but a lot of it's outdoors on a riverfront, and bonfires at night and dances, and excellent Tantra teachers from all over. We just have the best of the best coming in this year. And so that's July 20 through 24. And that's the very next thing on the agenda. And I get to teach there too. So I actually am the master of ceremonies and the opening speaker. And so that's really exciting for me. And it's an exciting event because it's built for beginners to experience. So if Tantra is something that makes you go, I don't know, it's kind of scary, but I'd be interested, this is the kind of event to come to, because it's super not, it's not real high risk. It's not, so you can go to other events that get a little scarier, or they can be clothing optional, or they can be, hands-on practices. This is an educational fun festival. So it's a great place to come, and you can come single or in partnership. There'll be about 100 people. We're going to sell out at 100, and we will sell out here probably, I don't know, in the next 10 days or so. That's the next thing on the schedule. And then right after that in September, the last weekend of September is my women's weekend. And I only do it twice a year. I do it the last weekend in May and the last weekend in September. And it's a 3-day event here in Ashland. And you stay in my home, so there's a place to stay. And I help you create a weekend for yourself outside of the weekend if you want to extend your time, if you're coming a long distance. But the 3 days here in my home, really powerful, excellent, super fabulous, organic, fabulous food that we get pampered and taken care of all weekend long, and really powerful place to learn about yourself.
That sounds so interesting. I might have to check my calendar. What am I doing?
And then the third thing I would say too that happens all year long, and that is my VIP weekends. And my VIP weekends are people call, we talk about what's going on in their intimate life, and then we design a weekend. And weekend, it just means 2 days in our schedules, where you come to town and you stay in a beautiful hotel in town, and you come here and work in the temple with myself and possibly my partner, if that's what that's called for. My partner is Jimmy, and he is also a tantric practitioner and massage therapist. And so sometimes our work is both of us, and sometimes the work is one of the other of us. But the VIP weekends get designed specifically for you and your intimacy.
Wow, that sounds amazing. Sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so now is the time for just some random questions.
Okay, great.
Are you ready? So
I'm ready. I'm nervous, but I'm ready.
I want you to think back for a minute. Okay. What was the first concert that you went to? And then what was the last concert you went to?
Well, so concert is such a tricky term in the 70s, because they weren't like they are today, but I went and saw America. Do you remember America?
Yeah, isn't that Horse with No Name? Isn't that
Horse with No Name? And I got to be in the front row. I was in the front row of America concert in a dress that I handmade myself because I was so excited to go see America. And it had to be 78. And the last one that I went to, well, again, concerts in my world, because Ashland and Oregon is all about festivals, and festivals have big, huge concerts. And I think my last one was probably Michael Franti. Do you know Michael Franti?
No, I don't.
If you don't know him, you want to know him, and look up his Sounds of Sunshine by Michael Franti, and you will find a whole new genre of music that you will love forever.
I will find that link and I will put it in the comment box.
Okay,
so
great.
Everyone can know who Michael Franti is. Okay. What character in a movie or book is most similar to you?
Oh my God. Says me or says my friends?
Either one.
Okay,
Or
so
both.
here's the one that keeps coming up from my friends, and especially my son, whom you know.
Yes. Hi, Matt.
Yeah. Do you remember Meet the Fockers? And Barbara Streisand was the sex therapist with the long hippie clothes, and she always had hippie things to say. Yeah.
You know,
he
that's
thinks
not much of a stretch.
he thinks that's who I've become.
All right, I might have to put a little clip of her in the comment box. What is your favorite indulgent summer food?
Gosh, the first thing all I can think of is watermelon and strawberries.
Mm.
I love watermelon and strawberries. And I have mostly given up sugar. So indulgent is a different term in my world these days.
Well, and those are sweet without having sugar.
They are. They're super sweet without having sugar.
Okay. Don't overthink. You've been really good about just saying whatever pops out.
Okay.
If you could teach the world just one thing, what is one thing? I mean, the world needs to know a lot of things, but if they could just learn one thing from you, what would you want to teach them?
I'd like to teach the world to sing.
Perfect harmony.
I really think I have a term that I talk about a lot, which is to love lightly. And that we have created a way where we love with these like death grip holds on each other, and then we're all disappointed, and then everything it creates all kinds of tension. And to learn to love lightly is like to be embracing and say, I can just take all of this in and find the love and share the love. I've done so many self-help workshops and retreats that always say, you know, what's your purpose in life? And I've not, for years I wouldn't share it because it was always to love. That was just my purpose. And I always thought that seemed so vacant and so simplistic, and doesn't everybody want to say that? But I've come to learn that actually that is a really unique calling that I have, and I want to teach people how to love.
I love it. And I love it. I love the love, and the world definitely needs that.
Yeah.
One last thought. This is something new I'm trying out, but I'm asking my Saturday shout out guests if they have one question for me. I mean, I hope it's scary asking you this question because I'm worried it's going to be, you know, some like intimacy question or something, but what's one question you have for me?
Well, you know, I have not known you as a married woman. Our friendship was when you were single. And so I've watched through Facebook, you get married. So my question is, I would love to know, like, what's the most sparkly, wonderful thing about your marriage?
I think that the most sparkly thing about my marriage is that my husband accepts me totally as who I am. That is not my strength. I always want people to be a little bit more, right? A little bit more something, a little bit more this, a little bit more that. We should always be more. And, but my husband does not, it doesn't matter wherever I am, he just accepts all of the goodness and the mess exactly as I am. And there's not a lot of people on this planet that I think are able to do that. So I really appreciate that.
I love that. That wasn't so hard. You know, Marilyn Monroe's famous quote is, if you can't take the worst of me, you don't deserve the best of me.
Oh,
and that sounds like
that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Well, Kim, it has been so fun having you here. And I'm just excited. And I think that there's going to be a lot of future Zooms. I think we need to just like put this on the calendar and do it more often. And I've never been to Ashland, so I think I need to plan a trip. I will put some comments, some links and some resources in the comment section. Okay. If you guys in the Thrive Tribe want to ask him a question, you can put it in the comment section, or if it's more personal, you could probably just click on her name and message her, and she would be glad to help you. Any last words before we go?
Oh, I just want to thank you, Joelle. I'm so glad we did this, and it's just delightful to be here with you. And I love that you have this tribe going on. Yay for you and the tribe.
Thanks. Bye, everybody. Have a great rest of your Saturday, and we will see you soon. Peace out.